When a letter written on the beaches of Normandy in 1944 reached an old veteran's hands in Detroit 75 years later, nobody knew it would change the fate of two families. But the real shock was who the letter belonged to. June 6, 1944, just hours before D-Day. Thomas Mitchell sat with his pen in hand, 3 envelopes before him. The first letter to his mother, the second to his wife, Sarah. But the third letter was different. It only said, "To whoever finds this." While everyone was writing hopeful letters home, this last letter Thomas wrote was actually a farewell. He was only 23, but there was a strange feeling inside him that night, as if something was whispering to him. But what Thomas wrote in the letter he gave to his friend Marcus that night contained a secret no one would know for 75 years. Marcus Johnson was Thomas's closest friend. They'd trained together, come to the front together. When Thomas handed him the letter, "If something happens to me," he'd said. Marcus cut him off immediately. "Don't talk nonsense, Tom. We're all going home." But Thomas insisted. "Just take it. To whoever finds this. Those who understand will understand." Marcus had put the letter in his pocket. Everything would change 2 days later. What would you do? Could you protect your friend's last letter entrusted to you? June 8, 1944. All hell had broken loose on Omaha Beach. Thomas and Marcus were advancing side by side. Bullets whistled through the air, people falling around them. It was at this exact moment everything happened at once. An explosion. The force that threw Thomas into the air had also knocked Marcus to the ground. When Marcus opened his eyes, he couldn't see Thomas, just blood and sand. Everything was red. Marcus was severely wounded. As they carried him away from the beach, the letter in his pocket was soaked with blood. While being transported to the hospital ship, Thomas's belongings had mixed with Marcus's belongings. Wait a minute, don't miss this detail. In that chaos, Thomas's letter was placed in the unknown owner belongings box. Thomas's mother, Margaret Mitchell, had waited 57 years to accept her son wouldn't return. When she passed away in 2001 at age 89, she was still waiting for news from her son. Sarah had chosen a different path. In 1950, she married a teacher named Robert. They had 2 children, but Thomas's photograph always remained in her home. She also passed away in 2015. But the real surprise would come in 2019. Jennifer Williams, a 71-year-old Korean War veteran, had gone to an old military items auction with her grandson. Boxes labeled World War II unknown owner items were being sold. When Jennifer bought a box, a yellowed envelope came out. The writing was barely readable. "To whoever finds this." When she opened the letter, she felt her hands begin to tremble. "I am Thomas Mitchell. If you're reading this letter, I'm no longer here, but I have a request. If you ever go to Detroit, find 1847 Woodward Avenue. Tell Marcus Johnson, who lives there, that I'm not angry with him, it's not his fault. And tell Sarah I always loved her." What Jennifer didn't realize at that moment was there was something else written on the back of the letter. When Jennifer turned the letter over, she couldn't believe her eyes. Written in pencil, almost faded, "Marcus is wounded. They're trying to save him. I'm going. If someone finds this, tell Marcus he is a hero." Jennifer's eyes filled with tears. Her own war memories suddenly came alive. She immediately turned to her grandson, David. "We need to find this address." David Williams, a 28-year-old software developer, couldn't refuse his grandmother's request. He immediately began researching. The first thing he found was Thomas Mitchell's military records. Died June 8, 1944, in Normandy. Mother Margaret died 2001. Wife Sarah Thompson, married name Roberts, died 2015. But there was one name in the records, David Mitchell, Thomas's nephew, born 1952. When David found his namesake, what he learned would shock him. Finding David Mitchell on Facebook wasn't hard. He was 67 and living in Philadelphia. When David Williams messaged him, the reply came immediately. "My God! A letter from my Uncle Thomas? After 75 years?" When the two Davids met on video conference, David Mitchell was crying. "My mother always told stories. Uncle Thomas's body never even came back. Just a missing notification. My grandmother Margaret waited her whole life for news from him." But the real shock would come when they found Marcus Johnson. David Mitchell remembered Marcus Johnson mentioned in his uncle's letter. "My mother mentioned him once. He was my uncle's best friend. He returned from the war but never visited. Research showed Marcus was still alive. 97 years old and indeed living in a nursing home in Detroit. If you were this age, how would you feel seeing your friend's letter from 75 years ago? November 21st, 2019. Detroit Sunrise Nursing Home. When Jennifer, David Williams, and David Mitchell entered Marcus Johnson's room, the old man was looking out the window. He was in a wheelchair. "Mr. Johnson, we're Thomas Mitchell's family." Marcus's head turned slowly. His eyes were cloudy but suddenly brightened when he heard the name mentioned. "Tom? Are you talking about Tom?" When David Mitchell handed him the letter, Marcus's hands began to tremble. This is his handwriting. My God, I've waited 75 years for this moment. What Marcus told them next would completely change the story everyone knew. Marcus began to tell through tears. "That day, that damn day, Tom came back to save me. Everyone was advancing, but he came back. He was shot while trying to drag me. 'Go,' he told me. 'Take care of Sarah,' he said." The room was engulfed in silence. Marcus continued. "I've lived with this guilt for 75 years. I couldn't visit Sarah. How could I look her in the face? I couldn't say, 'Your husband died saving me.'" Jennifer held the old man's hand. "But he didn't blame you. It says so in the letter." Marcus read the letter over and over, as if he could hear Thomas's voice. "Did you know," Marcus asked, "that Tom couldn't tell Sarah she was pregnant? Sarah had written to him, but Tom hadn't been able to read it yet." It was at this exact moment something occurred to David Mitchell. "Uncle Marcus, was Sarah's baby born?" Marcus nodded. "Yes, a girl. They named her Linda. It was Tom's mother's middle name. Born February 1945. David Mitchell pulled out his phone. He was quickly searching for something. Linda Roberts, born 1945, Detroit. Found her. She's still alive and lives 15 minutes away. Linda Roberts Thompson was 74 years old. When the call came, she couldn't believe it. My father is Thomas Mitchell, but my mother always said my father was Robert. David Mitchell gently explained, "Your Aunt Sarah was pregnant from her first husband, Thomas, when he died in the war." 2 hours later, when Linda arrived at the nursing home and saw Marcus, everything fell into place. The look in the old man's eyes. They were Thomas's eyes. "You," said Marcus. "You look just like him." Couldn't this happen to any of us? Finding our real family years later, David Williams had recorded all these moments with his grandmother's permission. When he uploaded the video with the title, "The Letter That Came After 75 Years," it had 3 million views within 48 hours. The comments were a flood of emotions. My grandfather was also at Normandy. Now I understand what he went through. Uncle Marcus's guilt destroyed me. Linda learning about her real father at 74. But the story didn't end here. A week after the video went viral, David Williams received an email. "Hello, I'm Jacques Dubois from France. I have a farm in Normandy. My grandparents lived there in 1944. We found some items in our basement. It says T. Mitchell on them. There were photos attached, a dog tag, a photograph, and an unopened letter. Sarah's last letter to Thomas. The letter where she announced she was pregnant. Marcus, Linda, and the whole family went to France. After 75 years, Thomas's story was being completed. When Linda read the letter, she felt like she was hearing her father's voice for the first time. "My dear Thomas, I have news for you. You're going to be a father." 97-year-old Marcus turned to the camera. "I thought about Tom every day for 75 years. Now I know that when he wrote that letter, he knew everything. That he wouldn't see his daughter, but he also knew someone would find it one day. If you're watching this video and you have old letters, photographs, please share them. Someone somewhere might be waiting for them. If this story touched you, do you have a story to share? Maybe there are hidden letters in your grandfather's, grandmother's chest. Maybe a photograph, a dog tag, a memory. Share in the comments or send them to us. We tell a new veteran's story every week." Next video. Maria's 1,000 Letters, The Love. She wrote every day to the one who couldn't return from Vietnam. Marcus Johnson passed away peacefully 3 months after this video was published, on his 98th birthday. His last words were, "Tom, I'm coming, buddy."